Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from fourth group. We will present our discussion, and the presentation is about political economy. Before we start presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Amel, and so I will be explaining about approach to political economy and state-centric political economy. Number one, approach to political economy. The term political economy implies that the disciplinary separation of although this lesson has been underlined by growing contemporary interest in political economy, not least in the em- in the emergence of so-called new political economy. It is one that has a long and respectable history. In this sense, it is concerned with issues such as the political influence of business groups and the extent to which global markets serve as constraints on national government. At deeper level, however, political economy encompasses a range of competing traditions. The most important of these are the following: A. State-centric political economy. State-centric political economy developed out of mercantilism, sometimes called economy nationalism, which was most influenced in Europe from the 15th century to the long 17th centuries. The classic mercantilist strategy was to build up stage wealth, power, and prestige by developing a favorable trading balance through producing goods for export while keeping imports low. Defensive mercantilism was designed to protect infant, introduce and weaker economies from unfair competition I mean, from stranger economies, while aggressive mercantilism aimed to strengthen the national economy in order to provide the basis for expansionism and war. However, they have been revived through the idea of state capitalism discussed later in the chapter. First, mercantilism is an economic philosophy that takes the state to be the most significant economic actor, highlighting the extent to which economic relations are determined by political power. The second is protectionism. Import the restriction, such as quotas and tariff designed to protect domestic producer. And lastly, bigger neighbor political policies pursue at the expense of the other states that are believed to be in their own country short-term best interests.
Okay, thank you very much, Amel, for beginning the presentation. And now let me introduce myself. My name is Salsa Dewi, and here I want to continue Amel presentation, which is still the part of approaches to political economy. Let me share screen it for you. Okay, so here it is. B. Classical and neoclassical political economy. Classical political economy derives from the writings of Adam Smith and David Ricardo on 1772 until 1823, in line with the deeper liberal belief in balance or harmony amongst competing forces. The key idea of classical political economy is that an unregulated market economy tends toward long-run equilibrium in that the price mechanism. From the perspective of classical political economy, this implies a policy of laissez-faire, and in particular about the behavior of firms and the optimal use of resources in conditions of perfect competition. So next is neoclassical political economy. Neoclassical political economy developed from the late 19th century onwards, driving classical ideas and assumptions into more developed theories. Okay, so in particular of neoclassical political economy, particularly about the behavior of firms and the optimal use of source resources in a condition of perfect competition. Yeah, as I mentioned in the after laissez affair. Okay, so next is C. Marxist political economy. Marxist political economy portrays capitalism as a system of class exploitation and treats social classes as the key economic actors. So this capitalism quest for profit can only be satisfied through the extraction of surplus value from its workers by paying them less than the value their labor generates. So the next is economic exploitation is therefore an essential feature of the capitalist mode of production, and it operates regardless of the meanness or generosity of particular employers. This irreconcilable class conflict infests capitalism with an inherent and ultimately fatal instability. As capitalism experiences depending crisis of overproduction, the proletariat will eventually be brought to class consciousness and will realize its destiny as the grave digger of capitalism. Okay, so the next is, okay, so this is the second contents of political economy. It is varieties of capitalism. Okay. In its borders from political economy examines how different economic systems affect institutional and political arrangement and are in turn affected by a process of political decision making. Traditionally, this has involved the analysis of the nature and implication of two rival economic systems, capitalism and socialism. Either economic life was based on private ownership and organized by the market, as in the capital West, or it was based on state ownership and organized through a system of central planning, as in the communist East, impurities such as market in labor and some form of black economy. So there are three types of capitalist system can be identified in the modern world. Yes, the first is enterprise capitalism, usually or known as a liberal capitalism. So enterprise capitalism, its central feature is faith in theontramuled workings of market competition, burn out the belief that the market is a self-regulating mechanism, in line with the principle of laissez-faire. For example, in the USA, such a free market principle have helped to keep public ownership to a minimum and ensure that welfare provision operates as a little more than a safety net.
P. Social capitalism. Social capitalism refers to the form of capitalism that has developed in much of Central and Western Europe. In Germany, this system is founded on a link between industrial and financial capital in the form of a close relation between business, corporation, and regionally based banks, which are often also major shareholders in the corporation. Germany economy has evolved since World War II, and it has oriented the economy toward long-term investment rather than short-term profitability. Alpine capitalism also differs from Anglo-American capitalism in that it is based on social partnership. This relationship is underpinned by a comprehensive and well-funded welfare provision that provide workers and other vulnerable groups with social guarantees. In this way, a form of stakeholder capitalism has developed that takes into account the interests of workers and those of the wider community. Shareholder capital is found in the USA and Ukraine. The strength of social capitalism were clearly demonstrated by the one of its drawback is that because it places a heavy stress on consultation, negotiation, and consensus, it tends to encourage inflexibility and make it difficult for business to adapt to changing market conditions. Further strain is imposed by the relatively high level of social expenditure required to maintain a high-quality welfare provision. C. State capitalism. In its modern usage, the term state capitalist refers to capitalist economic in which the state plays a crucial directive role. Some aspects of state capitalism should be found in page 1945 Japan. An example of this is the pattern in interlocking share ownership that ensures that there is a close relationship between industry and finance in firms themselves provide the social core of life in state capitalism. Although the Japanese version of state capitalism was highly successful in the early post-1945 period, accounting for Japan's ability to recover from wartime devastation to become the world's second largest economy. Japan's economic slowed down in the 1990 and the 1997 Asian financial crisis cast a dark cloud over state capitalism. In this context, China has been consistently achieved growth rate of about 10% for much of the period since the late 1980s and having overtaken Japan to become the second largest economy in the world in 211. China mixture of burgeoning capitalism and Stalinist political control has been remarkably effective in delivering sustainable economic growth, benefiting from a hook supply of cheap labor and massive investment in the economic infrastructure. Russia's conversion to state capitalism occurred in the aftermath of the chaos and dislocation of the 1990s, when shock treatment market reform were introduced under Boris Yeltsin. State capitals will only constitute a viable alternative to Western-based capitalist model if it is possible for market economy to prosper in the long term. In the absence of political liberalism, the standard bearer for state capitalists. Number 3. Managed or unmanaged capitalism. Keynes' challenge to neoclassical political economy advanced in he argued that laissez-faire politics that established a strict distinction between government and the economy had merely resulted in instability and unemployment, most clearly demonstrated with the Great Depression of the 1913s. Next. Most clearly demonstrated with the Great Depression of the 1930s. Keynesianist theory are developed by G.M. Keynes, or policy of economic management associated with regulating aggregate demand to achieve full employment. Multiplier effect. The mechanism through which a change in aggregate demand has an increased effect on nation income as it calculates through the economy. Stagflation, a combination of economic stagnation reflected in high or rising unemployment and on increase in inflation. Market fundamentalists, an absolute faith in the market reflected in the belief that the market mechanisms offer solutions to all economic and social problems. Social capitalism, culture and moral resources that help to promote social cohesion, political stability, and prosperity. Thanks for attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.